Whatever happened to Ratatoskr? Ratatoskr had a rough start. When he came out, he was vastly overpowered. Especially Opal Ratatoskr was very overpowered at release. Insanely high damage, proccing AoE crits off his dash, taking out squishies and tanks alike, even with full crit, no pen builds. He was really scary and really hard to deal with, especially due to his high mobility. Basically the same as Mercury was later in the season, only that he did the same thing to multiple targets at once. However, the main problem wasn't even only the high damage, but the insane mobility. Near infinite dashes that all triggered the Opal Acorn, and the cooldown of the ability was still reset if you only hit a target on the outer edge of the dash. Dashing through multiple targets only marked one of them. Additionally, his ultimate only had a 1 second wind-up, meaning that it was a free out of jail card in many situations if he was ever stopped from dashing by a wall or something. The acorns were generally very imbalanced between each other, and they continue to do so to this day. Before we continue, it's worth noting that the problem with Ratatoskr is that he's extremely hard to balance by design. His whole kit revolves around dashes, but dashes can easily become OP, especially as long as they can crit as well. Without the high mobility or high damage, however, he basically loses his purpose. He doesn't have hard CC like other assassins, and the only icon that allows so just straight up sucks because it's counterintuitive to normal play. And his small model makes balance even harder as it has to be factored in when talking about his mobility. Being harder to hit obviously has an impact. Ratatoskr was pretty unfun to play against as a whole. After some nerfs, Emerald Acorn became more popular, and Red sometimes moved from jungle burst to solo bruiser, but the inherent problem still existed. Now he was a high mobility guard with a small hitbox and some tankiness with self-heal. No explanation needed why that is not fun to play against. High-risk solution to all of this? Swing the nerf hammer and swing it hard. The first big nerf occurred in patch 2.8. Through the Cosmos got lower damage and lowered scaling. Dart now marks all targets hit instead of one. Opal Acorn gets reduced scaling. Acorn Blast. Emerald Acorn heals less. Sapphire Acorn reduced damage and scaling. Blue and Yellow Acorn have reduced power. Emerald and Sapphire Acorn have reduced penetration. You can read that all up on here. It's a lot. You would think a character is done after all these nerfs. Interestingly enough, Ratatoskr wasn't. He was still performing pretty well and extremely strong at this point. So Hi-Risk decided to go further. He got a second big nerf that doesn't seem as big if you look at the small amount of text in patch 2.11. Dart was nerfed further. The distance was reduced from 40 to 35. This may not sound like too much, but it makes a major difference in closing gaps and getting away, as well as how many targets he can hit on the way through. Also, the dart resets were limited to a total of 3 maximum, regardless of how you hit the targets and so on. So even if you managed to get 3 different targets, there were no more dashes for you. Additionally, the wind-up on Through the Cosmos was increased from 1 second to 1.5 seconds. Which also makes a major difference, because now it was actually possible to stop him from escaping that way by blowing him up. Red will continue to be a hard-to-balance character as it stands. Therefore, Hi-Risk decided to give Ratatoskr a major rework. This is coming in one of the next patches. We don't have a set date yet, but it is confirmed that he will see big changes. On another note, here's something I'd like to point out. I have been performing well in this very game with Ratatoskr, which is why I used it for this video. In my opinion, it's simply more interesting to watch a game where somebody does well instead of just getting stomped. However, this does not mean that the character is currently strong. Ratatoskr may not be the weakest character anymore. He has some decent side and niche options that you can use, like Hydra Star, in order to make him slightly more effective than he would be on average. This doesn't mean that the character is balanced. If you do well with a character in a specific game, it does not mean that the character doesn't need balance changes. I'm specifically pointing this out because of the Nemesis and Bakasura videos. Yes, you can do well with Bakasura in low divisions with ease, When people don't understand that they have to buy Sprint and how to counterplay him in general, then he's an extremely potent character, much stronger than many top tier characters actually. That doesn't mean that the character is balanced throughout all levels of play and is equally potent there. And this is something that just needs to be said because it seems to come up again and again. Same for Nemesis. Nemesis is strong in the right situations. She is a very situational character, in fact, and I have done well with her in the season multiple times. This doesn't mean that she's on the same level as, say, post-buff Sir Cat or Ao Kuang or Kali at the moment. And they shouldn't be, because obviously the top tier characters are the ones that need nerfs. But that also doesn't mean that they are balanced compared to mid-tier characters like maybe even Thor at the moment. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call him mid-tier, but somewhat around that. I just wanted to get that off my chest because it's coming up so often. With that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. There will be more parts of the Whatever Happened series eventually. Let me know which one you would like to see next in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. Duke Sloth out.